Everyone, welcome. Stop that! Everyone, welcome back to another episode of Court Party Book Chaps. Let's go. I had a really bad feeling about this. I ran past her to the bathrooms, to where Katayama was being lifted onto Yuuya's shoulders when I left. Why? Katayama was back on the floor. Right where we'd set him down, this whole ordeal began. Why wasn't he on Yuuya's shoulders? What was going on? I had an inkling, but I didn't want to believe it, so I pushed it out of my mind.
Yuuya, みんな何してるの? 早く片山連れてかなきゃ。何？会わなかったよ。
Oh.
さっき瞳子が降りた後、すごい声を上げて、そのまま。嘘。
I didn't know what else to say. A person had just died, and not some stranger, but a person I knew. A friend. It was the strangest feeling. I kept looking at him and thinking, is he really dead? Is really what a person looks like when he dies? Seeing him like that drained every last bit of energy I had in me. I fell to my knees, thoroughly defeated. She's a loss. She's dead. I mean, I couldn't stay near the body. We'd gone down to the second floor where we picked a corner and just stood there, trying to recompose ourselves. Yuuya elected to stay with Okawa on the third floor. I guess to try and break him from his shock and help put some distance between him and Katayama. None of this felt real, or maybe I just didn't want it to be real. It was a nightmare. It had to be, and I just sit up in my bed. It would all be over. My energy was waning again. I sank to the ground and, landing on my knees, Amy followed my lead and put an arm around me for comfort. Friend had just died. He just died! God, why? What? Amy and I looked at each other. We both heard them. Footsteps coming down the hall, but it was too dark to make out who it was, but the gate was decidedly male. The two of us slowly and quietly rose to our feet, hid around the corner, and peeked out, both terrified and curious as to whom or what we might see. There, at the end of the hall, the figure finally came into view. It was a tallish man, unsteadily teetering as he slowly strode toward us. It was Shimada, drenched from head to toe. Oh, God!
Shimada-kun!
Amy shot forward, intending to run toward him. But I grabbed her arm and held her back without thinking about it. She turned and looked at me with a puzzled expression.
私無理。え、まさかなんかされたの？うん。よかった。こんな時だし、起こったことだけでも伝えておかないと。
Oh, I knew I had feelings. Oh! She looked back at me again, and as she said this, staring right into my eyes as an almost disciplinary manner. It was a perfect guilt stare. I couldn't help but succumb to it, feeling bad for not having filled her in about the Shimada incident. Shimada continued his slow, wet walk down the hall. Then, all of a sudden, for no discernible reason, he simply fell forward, landing hard onto his knees. Something was wrong with him, and while I loathed the man, I didn't want to see him suffer. Emmy and I were both poised to rush to his aid, when other figures randomly began appearing all around him. Figures of children, blue and ethereal, shimmering with their own light. That ain't good! I think you mean who are they? We could barely even see Shimada from our vantage point anymore, as his body was obscured almost completely by the backs of those ghost children. He wasn't moving, though, so it didn't seem like they were doing anything to him. But then, he wasn't moving at all, which seemed highly suspicious. It occurred to me that maybe we should try to save him. I inched forward. He was still in exactly the same position he had been when he fell to his knees. He literally hadn't moved at all. Was he unconscious? Emmy and I looked at one another and nodded. It was a silent signal to move forward and do whatever we could to help. The children vanished as we approached, revealing a horrific sight. Shimada's stomach has been flayed wide open. He was dead. Jeez. He has a sword in his freaking stomach! Thought that was a cross instead of it's a freaking sword! The knife he'd flaunted earlier was just jutting from the wound. It was an almost ceremonial death, like that of a samurai who'd thrown himself on his sword. Yuuya, who presumably rushed down to see what was wrong, calmly walked over to Shimada's body. He was checking for signs of respiration or pulse. He turned back to face us again with a moment later, and his facial expression said it said it all. Shimada really was dead. I was beginning to lose it. I just couldn't take any more of this. My friends and acquaintances were dying, one by one. I guess I should say had died. But it seemed like it was over, not by a long shot. Hell, it was doing more than trying. And I've already succeeded twice over. I was scared and I was paranoid. I was shaking and crying and screaming inside. I was definitely afraid that something else would show up, and then it did. Oh no! It was a little girl in a red dress standing between us in the third floor staircase. Sachiko, you! I couldn't make out the expression on her face, but through her bangs, but I could literally feel the hatred in her eyes as she stared into our souls. You murdered Yuka! Then she turned around and slid up the staircase into the third floor hallway.
Oh, I think she wants us to follow her.
It was turned the other way so she hadn't seen the girl at all. She eventually followed our gazes, but at the time the girl was gone, she looked confused. The particular apparition looked a lot different from the other ghosts I've seen, but there was still no doubt in my mind she was definitely a ghost. Okawa's dead now because of Sachiko. Idiot! Well, that's the direction the girl in the red dress went. And I guess Yuuya didn't want me to be put in harm's way. True, because he's still alive afterwards. I nodded and watched his back recede into the darkness as he chased after Emmy. Ah, I can't take that! I really am getting tired of this freaking headset. Oh God. What was going on? Why was Emmy screaming? I could hear voices now. Emmy and Okawa were having a heated argument. He's dead, you idiot! Ah! Leave him and run? We'll get caught? That ghost girl must have been pursuing them. Oh, I thought we were going to be presented with a choice. Uh-oh. Oh! Katayama's body was sprawled unceremoniously on the landing, halfway up this third floor, along with Okawa. What the hell? At the top of the stairs stood Emmy, and in front of her, Yuuya, with an imposing scowl on his face. He was already dead. How could he be a murderer? I didn't understand any of this. What has just happened? Emmy let out another scream and came running toward me down the stairs. Okawa then seemed as if he was fallen and broken his arm. He was lopsidedly crawling toward me. It was almost as if he were trying to distance himself from Yuuya. I ran to the base of the stairs to meet up with Emmy. I needed some sort of context here.
Emmy! Nani? どうしたの? 逃げろ! 逃げろ! 殺されるぞ! ヒサミ君が君をどうしたの? 急に!
I think I see a smile on his face.
I glanced up at Yuuya, but his face was shrouded in darkness. Couldn't make out any expression at all.
Told you it's a freaking psychopath!
Okawa seemed to have reached its breaking point. He shot to his feet and took off behind me toward the second floor as fast as he could.
Damn the infernal people!
Yuuya kicked Okawa down the stairs. Why? Slowly, he walked down to the landing. He was neither concerned nor scornful. His face was a blank state. As soon as he reached my level, he bent down and began fiddling with Katayama's body. Raising the arms, then letting them drop. Wiping blood from the ears and nose, then looking at it as if he was studying a specimen under a microscope. He's a psychopath. What the hell? He's enjoying this. Finally got. Oh my god, get away! I finally got to see an emotion written clearly on his face, and it was elation? How is this not some crazy dream? Tears began spilling from my eyes like water. I was shocked, confused, and I don't even know what else. And I found ourselves standing in front of the door to the school infirmary. Poor girl was frantic, so I can't say I blamed her. But, well, something about this whole situation just didn't feel right to me. Oh god. With that, Emmy pushed me out of the way and ran past me toward the stairwell leading to the first floor. And off she went. I was now separated from everyone but my friends. But was I really in danger? I was, but from Yuuya? It just didn't seem right. Or more likely, I didn't want it to be. I wanted to believe that this was all a misunderstanding. My legs were shaking and my head was swimming as I stood there, unsure of where I should go, or what I should do. Then, there he was, right behind me.